So that's full board.
It's everything. It's full board, meals, it's three meals a day. That's all the internet, electricity, everything else is quite cheap.
And single part.
Yeah. No
Shared facility.
no one space. Yeah.
Members, I'm just about to go live on YouTube.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's cheaper than that.
If it is, we have a chat with some of the residents who have been there for 2 years and they're not going to come back next year, but they might. I think one is rented. They came back to us like 2 months later. No, I'm still staying.
Yeah.
We've come from when I first joined the see the good thing is that the requirements of those things are full. And those are good.
Welcome back, everybody. You all came back. 2026. It feels like it's a long time ago since we were standing here celebrating another successful year, and here's to a good year coming up ahead of us. Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting we held on Tuesday, the 27th of January. I'll begin with the Kaurna acknowledgement. The City of Prospect acknowledges that we are on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains region, and we respect elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with the land, and we acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today. Another council pledge. We seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the peace and prosperity of our city. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda on leave, there is nil. Item 3, apologies received from Councillor Trin Nguyen. Item 4, indication of intention to declare a conflict of interest. Is there anyone intending to declare a conflict of interest for any of the items on the agenda? I'll take that as a no. Item 5, confirmation of minutes is a recommendation on page 3. Do I have a mover? Councillor Barnett would like to speak to the motion. Do I have a second? I think I saw Councillor Deputy Mayor Nelson's hand.
Of course.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
No.
If there's nothing else to add, any other points to raise, and unlikely to see the need for a summary, although you are entitled to, Councillor Barnett, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Item 6 on the agenda, public question time. So just to reiterate, we allow 15 minutes for questions from members of the public, and we take up to 5 questions. We may be able to answer your question. If we can't answer it on the night, we will take it on notice. And if it's not a question, then we can't take it as a question. So that having been said, are there any questions from members of the public? Okay, would you like to approach the table, desk? It's going to say altar for some reason. It's not, is it? What is it?
Bench.
The table, we'll call it table. And we just need name and suburb for the purposes of the minutes, please, sir.
Evening. I'm going to win. I don't know if I'm going to make my food. Yeah. Last. In May 1991, I won the first one. They came out with no food. They came out with a bundle. And that's what it is. That's when it was more in Hooper. And I did. they come out with one of them, and then they come in and you can same thing, and they went in the way. Yeah, and they found them spots. They same two railways. We can't park there. Park in the middle of the harbour. You know, we got park there. Yeah, they're using free. They live in Lincoln. So there's a car in there. And it was bad. They come on and try to stick more to it and they come on and reserve it. You know, I use that from Ryan and I get the roots underneath the car, the metal road up. You know, I'm with it. You know, about 5 years I had to win with a flood or something. So he went everywhere and he unfortunately rose in the car in the hole and festival it that day. And we had to see how to get through it. And so this year started to when I even not smooth too, yeah. If it was not smooth, it's done. And doing there, on good lane, then no problem. And you play a year out and yeah, sometimes.
So the question is does council have plans to do something about a particular tree? Trees.
Whole street and wrong trees. And then wrong spot.
And the undulating surface of the
It's called root.
Yep, I will ask the CEO to direct that to the relevant team member to see if I'm not sure we can answer that right now, but certainly may provide some advice.
It may assist Mr. Wade if you can submit the question in writing, we'll give you a more fulsome response. But certainly we can speak to our maintenance processes and how to enter any concerns about footpath quality and modulation into our system, either through the phone or online. Maybe Mr. Bellamy can also speak to our general asset management renewal processes as pertains to trees and interactions with footpaths.
The wrong tree.
Yeah, the wrong trees under the footpath, yes.
No, the wrong tree. A yearly tree, which is a standard tree. Every tree. There's the wrong tree.
But Mr. Weed, you said they were planted in 1981, is that right? Or roughly, that was what I heard. I mean, so the challenge then is you're suggesting, will we remove the trees? Is that the question?
Somewhere, where I place now, there, I could put me from parking.
I think, Mr. Weed, it's fair to say that
Come on Monday and okay.
Mr. Weed, I am aware, not just in Rose Street, but elsewhere in the city of Prospect, we have issues with trees that have been planted, in some cases decades ago, some cases centuries ago, where those trees are now impacting the footpaths. It's not just an issue in Rose Street. I recognise it does create problems with footpaths. Council have consistently taken an approach to try and maintain mature trees wherever they can, and that's, as far as I'm aware, an ongoing part of Council's policy on the tree strategy, that we maintain those trees, not cut them down, but going forward when we do plant new trees.
I think I agree with the CEO in the sense I grew up in Prospect and we talk about the white cedars causing issues, and they were planted back in the early 70s, I'd imagine, or thereabouts, because they were there when we moved in. Council's got a much better policy around planting the correct trees these days, but alongside that, we also have a policy in general of looking at each of those situations on a case by case, and if there's anything there that might be a concern, then we'd look at it. I think the message we've got is that the maintenance staff needs to have a look at the undulating surface on the footpath, which is causing a potential health issue, and we've noted that, and on Rose Street. And as the CEO mentioned, just for formal purposes of documentation, it would be good if we could submit your question in writing, just so that we know we've got the right question,
Yeah.
and we can give you the right answer.
That's right.
Can I just check on the time? Because we do have a limit of 5 minutes per question. We've already exceeded the question time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So if you do have any other questions, make sure you submit those at the same time, and then we can address all your questions.
Yeah, we need
As I said, we've finished our time, and if you want to submit your questions, we'll make sure that we address those questions. So just an email address or something.
You get pie over here.
I've just told you what we're going to do, so we'll address the questions you've asked, and we'll send the maintenance team out to. Have you got a question, Councillor
I do
Baker?
have a question. I've met with Mr. last week and he showed me some concerns and he mentioned he was coming to council. He mentioned he'd raised the errands before, he'd raised issues before. I'm just wondering, maybe that was also addressed as part of the response.
Yep, so I've just been advised that they have been responded to. Yep. I might walk down there on the way home tonight and check it out myself. Thank you for the deputation. The question, sorry, that wasn't deputation. No worries, thank you. Are there any other questions from members of the public? So just for the purpose of the minutes, just name and
Yes.
suburb,
thank you.
please.
Thanks. Thank you. Just a quick one. When revocation goes in and you have got large letters and the rest of it, are those documents public knowledge or are they available to the public afterwards or any time during what you put in with the ministration or
Oh, what we submitted?
whatever?
What we submitted?
Yeah,
Good
whatever
question.
goes to the minister.
I'll ask the CEO to provide an answer for that.
Mr. Pearce, that's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that. Can you speak to because does that documentation include anything within the Came through?
Prepare the information that we've received to the bench. So
Presumably there's a cover letter. So a cover
Yeah,
letter,
the submission for the land.
there is a cover letter, I would imagine,
yes,
which is probably not something we would ordinarily
not like
we wouldn't ordinarily
body.
so we wouldn't ordinarily publish that, but I mean
Yeah.
don't see any reason why we couldn't. Mr. Pearce. We can take a look at that, get back to you on that.
Yeah,
So I might have to take that on notice.
that'd be
It's
great.
it's possible we might need require any follow up for that,
Yeah.
but if it's
Yeah. Oh, oh. Just, yeah, I'm just going through stuff.
Mhm.
Send it to the head.
So that's
Email anyway. All right, thank you.
I can't see any other members of the public, so I take it that we don't have any more questions from members of the public. Item 7, petitions there are nil. Item 8, deputations nil. Item 9, questions without notice. Are there any? Councillor Backer, first one for 2026.
Too many. I just had a question about the community hub and the utilisation of the space for communities. Maybe just through the chair. I was wondering where we're at with the usage. Because I know the wind
Are you looking for a report on the number of times it's been hired out, or?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So we should have that data. Is that coming to us in a? I know that's part of their lease arrangement to hit a certain threshold for renting out the small room and the big room from memory. We'd have that information at hand. CEO, not right now, but would be able to provide that.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe it's March or April, the next annual report is due. Ms. Ferrier, can you?
Yes, through the chair, we will be bringing a report back in probably April. The reporting, annual report is due to us in March, so for us to compile the report, we'll have to come in April. We very much include a specific excerpt in regards to the activation of the facility room in the club.
And just further to that, there'd be an administration budget to assist in facilitation of
It would possibly depend. Well, my guess is it would depend on whether they have hit their targets or not. I suspect if they've hit the targets which they agreed to, they might not need any support. But if they haven't, then I guess we may be open to workshopping that, providing the support. I don't think they're using Space Deco. I think they've decided to go with their own booking system. So I don't know whether that's part and parcel of, if they haven't hit their targets, then maybe that's something which they are required to do.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I would imagine members will be something that you'll be discussing when the report comes back to you. I don't think it would be fair for me to suggest that we were putting in a budget right now to take over the facility from the Quarterly Football Club in the absence of a variable reason. I understand there has been some changes in the committee recently, so it may be, for example, something that council would like them to come and speak to in a deputation, something to that effect, and members can make up their own mind. I guess that would be pretty late in the budget process, but undoubtedly staff have any intention of executing 2 years of the budget process.
Is that what you meant?
Well, yeah, it's not actually about the club, it's about optimising council facilities. Because obviously, we've invested a lot of money in the facility. So one, I suppose point one is the reporting. But I guess the reporting comes after the budget process. I mean, we want to empower our community to use public spaces. And sometimes that assistance can come with, from a budget bid, say, to help facilitate that. I'm just talking about timing. So I suppose because I had sent an email earlier in the week to one of the directors, so I suppose that's why I had. That's fine. I had briefed this question.
It just through the chair. It has been an ongoing point of discussion. We meet up with ever since the facility's been developed. The council empowered us to meet quarterly with the management committee of Broadview. We've been doing that as a cross-sectional representative of the council, monitoring the KPIs that we endorsed with the lease. One of those KPIs relates to the use of the Brenton Costello room. That KPI is effectively 1 hire per business day, so effectively close to 250 hires per year. I think it's fair to say they're a long way short of the target, have been since day one, and acknowledge some difficulties they have in terms of managing their overall responsibilities with managing themselves. And that this is one issue that has sort of haven't been able to crack in terms of being able to allocate resources and get maybe the use that they wanted out of the room. It has been transitioned to Space Deco, so that has been done a couple of months ago from memory, with a rate similar to, I think, the higher rate, if not slightly older. I think it's this room here, in an effort to help make it easier for people to hire the facility. I know that staff in Katie's team are actively looking to support and generate interest for use of the room. In terms of the actual statistics and where they sit, I don't have that information tonight, other than that it has been a challenge for the group. In the conversations that I've had, and I've been sharing those meetings on a quarterly basis, made it very clear the council expectation in the hiring of that room, and failure to sort of improve this may lead to a position where the council can potentially take over some of the control of the spaces in the facility. So that was effective. So it's all there's no sort of dispersions as to what our expectations are in that space. There's certainly understanding of that. They have had challenges. They've had a changeover of leadership. We haven't met the new leadership and committee members. However, there will be a need for another quarterly meeting soon. And there's obviously a need to respond to facility management reporting requirements of the lease and the licensing policy. And then maybe at that point it's a good juncture for the members to consider whether or not the intervention is required.
Any further questions for that notice? If not, we'll move on to item 10, reports for decision. 10.1 delegations, Public Sector Data Sharing Act, recommendation page 4. So a reminder, this is delegating authority of the CEO to enter into an agreement. So it's a relatively simple question, or are you moving it?
No, I'd like to move it. And in so doing, this report basically moves the council provides delegation to the chief executive officer of CEO to facilitate both the receipt of the local area plan information, but also to facilitate receipt of other information through this mechanism for local state government in the future. To me, it just seems sensible that the council of our side provides delegations to the CEO to do that. The process includes both management of confidential information and the management of conflicts of interest as they arise through the preparation of regional plans. This includes consultation with landowners regarding identified potential growth areas that must be carefully managed, and sharing confidential information with landowners prior to being publicly released, and they both carry significant risk. So I might add on the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan that this basically replaces the former 30-year plan. The Prospect Council targets then included having urban corridors with apartments, and I believe it's to achieve about 900 housing facilities or apartments, I understand. So the new plan is about future housing. 315,000 units, infrastructure needs, including new apartments. But when you go and look further on the website and a little more carefully, it seems that most of Prospect Council area includes, again, the main roads and infrastructure around gaps, Septon Plaza, Reception Park, around the railway line, and a mass transport corridor. So these are important things for us to consider. So I agree that we should be discussing this at a city workshop or a strategic planning committee. I note that from the LGA news that for almost a year, the LGA and the Department for Housing and Urban Development have been working together to develop a framework to support councils to deliver local area plans. The framework to support councils through this process is expected to be launched in early 2026, so we're fast approaching that. And I believe on the release of the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan in March 2025, Greater Adelaide Council CEOs and mayors were provided with an update on the local area planning program, encouraged to start thinking about how their council builds into the targets and engage with their communities. So I look forward to this.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Deprimiano.
Yeah, even if he's going to say right on top of everything that Councillor Barnett just thoroughly covered in her speech. So.
Any further discussion, any points that haven't already been raised? Councillor Back.
Yeah, we've had a few more questions just on data sharing. And I guess any time that we're asked to share data, especially residents' data, and keeping in mind it's de-identified, but obviously you do have to have an officer to retrieve dumps and done that kind of thing. So I guess, how much is it going to cost? Are we able to be provided with a list of what data has been requested? What protections are in place for individuals and businesses? And my understanding is a tool that has been developed through the LGA to aid councils in developing their local area plans, should they choose to do that. Will the public also be able to access that tool?
So you asked a few questions there.
This plus the thinking order of chronology. Resources expected to comply. Costs of compliance, if you can. Protections for guest residents. And also the availability.
Through the share, the particular proposed data sharing agreement that's been revised in this report is a proposal from the state government in one way on direction to share information with us. There's no intended sharing of council data with the state government as part of that data sharing agreement, so no cost, and to the extent of resourcing, it is the resourcing that is required to understand that data and contemplate a potential local area plan, which is a statutory requirement now. In terms of protections, the proposed data sharing agreement involves the maintenance of that information in confidence unless and until the local area plan is published somewhere between now and April 2028. So the intent is, I think as Councillor Barnett rightly said, that information be held confidential, and that's the nature of the protection. In terms of the urban policy model, which is the LGA tool, it uses, I think this is on the website, so it's fairly simple for me to run through some algorithmic technology by a private company to look at the possibility of subdivision as against the probability of subdivision in suburban areas. It does not address our urban corridors. I have seen the data because it has been made available to us by the LGA on their website. I'm not clear on the LGA's intent around sharing that generally, and I will have to, I'm afraid, take that part of the question on notice.
So let's just clarify, when we talk about information on the LGA's website,
through the chair, we have been provided with a singular unique login to a particular part of the LGA website, so it's not accessible even generally across staff, just to those few staff with a specific user access.
A couple of questions. Just in regards to the local area plans, I was looking at the Act here, I think, and it said the Minister may, at the request of the Council, exempt a council from doing a local area plan. Because I guess, in the City of Prospect, where we've done a lot of development in the last 10 to 15 years anyway. One, is there a pathway for an exemption? And two, what would be the cost of developing a local area plan?
So yeah.
Mr. Blessing.
Through the chair, so in terms of question one, yes, there are several pathways to an exemption set out in the new statutory framework. At this stage on the information without the Minister's view on the thresholds, noting that the statutory obligation to prepare a local area plan arises as a result of the Minister's saying that he needs to do one. So to take a step back for a moment, at the December strategic planning and development policies meeting, we discussed this emerging obligation in the aims to have a local area plan. The staff flagged committee members that we are entirely unfamiliar with the expectation for a council like City of Prospect, where our growth areas are state-controlled urban corridors and not suburban areas being subdivided one into two, one into three. We are hoping and anticipating that the data to be shared with us as a result of this agreement might shed some light on investors' expectations as a council. It might not be a better place to get an answer to the question about what, if any, of those exemption pathways might be available for us. And equally in terms of the second question, it's not currently clear to staff what would be our local area plan and ask not to implement commentary learning and corridors, and they are our growth areas. So at the moment it is possible for staff recommending the consumer exemption or recommending that the consumer extraordinarily basic local area plan that involves extensive no investigation and thus the resources of staff time. It's a matter that will be returned to the SPDPC.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll go back to Councillor Mayer.
Oh, so I just have to answer that back for questions. And that was been informed to what that comments are. Summation.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. That's the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Item 10.2, Draft Disability Access and Inclusion Plan. Recommendation on page 6. Do I have a mover? Councillor Smith.
The draft Disability Action and Inclusion Plan 2026 to 2030 is a genuine commitment to making our community more accessible and inclusive. The input from the Access and Inclusion Community Advisory Group has been vital, bringing their lived experience and practical ideas to strengthen this plan. Again, Barney's team has done a great job pulling everything together and turning feedback into something clear and useful. The 4 key focus areas are practical, sensible and well focused. I fully support all aspects of this motion and endorse the draft plan.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a second? Councillor Hall.
Summed up pretty much what I had to say. That group has been invaluable, quite passionate about sort of the issues of disability access, provided fantastic feedback. I think it was a great team effort there. So really I'd like to thank them as well as Farley's team who put this together. Some good work done, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Is there anything that hasn't already been covered? Any points that people like to raise? If not, I'll give that to Councillor Nguyen to sign. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Item 10.3, quarterly project updates, Q2 2025-2026, page 134. You'll note that there's a couple of extra words in there in red. I suggested that we include those because without that, it pretty much said that the advocacy was really only in relation to the 2026 state election, and having met with the Minister for Infrastructure today, who kindly reminded the CEO and myself that the election was a few weeks away, and advocacy for new money for an election promise at this point in time is, you know, her words, I don't want to waste your time. So I've added those additional words in red just to broaden the advocacy that we might enter into with regards to this important project. So hopefully everyone is okay with that and understands the rationale. So having said that, is there anyone who would like to move this motion? It's a dead head, I'm going to do it again. Who'd like to move this motion? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Very happy to. Look, I always love, I think I say this every single time, I love reading these quarterly project updates to see what we're doing, and it always surprises me the amount of work we're taking across the city. I read these things and I have a look at probably 6 or 7 pages of works that we're undertaking. Obviously, I always get annoyed at the overruns. We get projects that are overrunning budget. We look at the cricket club that went over. But again, a lot of these things can't be foreseen. It's no difference to a mechanic can't see inside the engine. We can't see what's happening underneath the roof line before we can't come in. Some of the overruns are a little bit annoying, but all very, very justifiable. The only question I do have, perhaps for the relevant director through the mayor, is how much have we done to really investigate the justification of $50,000 for a door and $135,000 for 3 doors? If I may ask, through the mayor.
CEO,
Mr. Planner.
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. It is certainly, when I get these quotes, I have a lens to support and explain rationale, obviously having the public money in this space. It's fair to say the process has been fast with their heritage architect, it's a local heritage item, the heritage architect, same architect design under and involved, software associated with this, like just purely doors. Doors themselves are about $28,000 just to replace the business in timber, and they're laying finish, paint, and hang, and there's associated with some brickwork, timber beams that need to be replaced, structural steel frames that need to be replaced, footings that need to be constructed, then it becomes hinges and other that needs to be either refurbished and restored or replaced. It certainly adds up. So I have personally looked at scope of works as well as the cost estimate performed by quantity surveyor. It does have contingency, and from the contingency has typically one for my staff. Our expectation for heritage items is by the contingency, so this would be at the upper end. One of the key things for us in terms of looking at this also the fact is a lot of money once the doors and actually minimize the impact on low players. Certainly when it's factored into a mechanism for security grant funding that currently exists, it's something in my mind and doing that, and also limiting the scope of works to the absolute minimum amount required in terms of the priority. It's proposed are close to not. The others can wait years, and I certainly suggest that this St. Helens Reserve Master Plan, in the sense of potential capital reuse, I don't think we'll replace the $200,000 money to look out for those sort of reasons and truck replaces in the future. So that's the, I suppose, the summary of the considerations associated. It really is the minimum scope of works.
Thanks, Sam. Now, look, I think there's now that understanding these tools, footings, brickworks, everything else involved, it makes a little bit more sense. I still find 50 grand hard to swallow, but I think it's also valid to note that we do have a few overruns that we forget about, but there's also a number of items in there where there is some savings that have been so I think the team's done very well.
Thank you. Second, I can see Christina Bennett.
Yes, again, thanks again for a very comprehensive report. I think this is sort of the sort of things as an elected member that I really love to read and find out what's going on. I note a good win is the retention of the significant jacaranda tree with the St Helens Kindergarten storage room works. And regarding the St Helens Coach House door heritage restoration design, I think it's perhaps an example of what happens when our heritage has not been as high on the list as what it has been over the last few years, and it's Coach House sort of deteriorated into being just a storage area. When there were, I remember when it was done, there were a whole lot of other thoughts that it could be. It was used at one stage by the Prospect Rotary Group as a place to meet and men's shed, and then that sort of expanded elsewhere. So, and the longer these items are left to deteriorate, it usually costs more in the long run. So I'm pleased that we're turning the corner on this particular approach. and it's about managing risk as well as adaptive heritage use. So hopefully we'll have more of this in the future St Helens Park master plan. So if things are done on a planned asset approach as we have been doing over the last few years, I think that would be a great help. Yes, I support the renewal process for the doors over time. And I'm pleased that the Prospect District Cricket Club roof is at last safe, and we'll get an extended use of the facility for the cricket and the some of the football umpires and the occupants. However, it still has other major problems as an old building that we still need to address in future plans. For example, the lack of disability access. The Prospect Schools Precinct School Safety Intersection Upgrade. We have mouthfuls of these descriptions of them. But anyway, yeah, I think hopefully this proposal will fix the problem. It's been a problem ever since it was sort of done when it was the Bourne Road bicycle plan. Rizzo, it just never seemed to work. So hopefully this will, with the raised platform intersection treatments, will provide better safety provisions for all that sort of use it. And I note that we'll be applying for the state government grant towards 50%. So let's cross our fingers for that. And yes.
Thank you, Councillor Barnett. Has anyone got anything else to add? Any points that haven't already been raised? Councillor Gregg, sure.
Oh, absolutely. No, just two things really briefly, just to nuggets around the trees as part of this outcome. This is just a general comment, and if it goes through a bit of detail, I apologise for that. In the Heritage District, it talks about support for the deferral of possible restore. That was not a really nice decision, and I think this is a very important style to understand what we're doing or not doing. Is it possible that this is a question where we do refer to decisions of council to refer to the as not? I think just to make this decision. I might be the only one who thinks that because I just think it's an important decision.
I'd have to look to my right, I think, see what the team leader of governance has to say about that.
Through the Mayor, unless the CEO has other thoughts, my understanding is a decision of council is a decision of council, and it is the decision. Whether it's unanimous or not. Some councils don't actually record whether decisions are unanimous or not. And the minute of that decision, of when the decision was made, is in that minute. And to go back and refer to other decisions, whether they're unanimous or not at the time, could be a level of complication. Obviously, anything's possible. But once the decision is made, that is the decision, unless someone's information.
I think there's nothing to add other than if you do impose that on us, take, for example, just the basics of how a council works. Us around this table are familiar with the process, and we're here to listen to the debate and absorb it. Staff get a decision, they get an action that comes through the process that says do or do not, right? And Chris Leading is here to deliver projects, and when he delivers a report, he's not necessarily looking over a sheet saying was this a unanimous decision or was it were there two people voted against it. And asking those staff to check those decisions every time we report back to degree of complexity, and frankly, I'm not sure I can expect staff who don't live in this room or understand how those processes work to do that reliably every time unless they've got support from governments, which would be a pretty significant drain on their resources. So the answer to your question is rather not. Simply because it will add complexity and drain resources in the business, checking those reports every
I'll just make a couple of comments. I'm not sure about a couple of things. I certainly wouldn't expect staff to be very much. I don't expect a leadership executive to do understand those decisions and do understand the rationale behind decisions that they're made. And it's not often these things we refer to in these sort of documents. Like it's not, I think it's a pretty common thing, but it's recognised. I think a director might say, oh yeah, that wasn't something that was really bad. I accept that below director level, and to the team of the government's point, I would accept that except we do record so the fact that we do record report suggests if we're not using that, just that's a question to be answered.
Thank you. Anything else? Any points that haven't already been raised? I don't think there could be. I'll head back to Councillor Deputy Mayor Nelson. Well, Deputy Mayor Nelson, would you like to sum up?
No, I think
I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Moving on. Where's my gap? Item 10. Order. Point of order. I just wanted to say that. 10.4, second budget review. Recommendations, page 162. Do I have a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Yeah, look, obviously, largely in line with the original budget. A few movements up and down, but again, most of all the alterations have been well justified in this.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Deputy, non-deputy mayor, but Councillor Twain. Yeah, the x-axis are gone. Any points that haven't already been raised? If not, I'll head quickly back to Deputy Mayor Nelson for a very quick sum up. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Item 10.5, periodic review of key financial indicators and draft key assumptions for the long-term financial plan. Recommendations on page 176. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
This. Obviously, I was fortunate enough to sit through the Audit Risk Committee meeting last Monday. It was great to get back into the ring of those meetings again after being away for a year. Thank you to Councillor Backer for her time. And there was a lot of discussions around this. I'm sure we're also looking at the minutes of that later on. But obviously the Audit Risk Committee has gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. And basically we're on board with this, so very happy.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holloway.
Yeah, I've noted the report. I probably don't have a great deal to say, but I do appreciate and value the great work that goes into this and fine detail and making sure everything's running according to how we need it to be. That's about it.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Any points that haven't already been raised? If not, I'll head back to Deputy Mayor Nelson to sum up. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Item 10.6, the one you've all been looking forward to. Establishment of Council Assessment Panel Selection Working Party, page 183. So I will take up one of the spots as per the recommendation. So we're looking for 2 people to be on the working party. Just to explain the role of the working party, in case there's any lack of clarity, we go to market for people to nominate, shortlisted. The council team organise the shortlisted candidates and rate them from a number of metrics, and then we interview. and then we make a decision. So it's not too much of an onerous task to do. It's an important task because, as we know, this group of people is responsible for a significant piece of work on our council. And so having the right mix is really important. And so it is an opportunity to shape the team that sits on the council assessment panel moving forward. So that having been said, there's 2 spots. If there's more than 2 nominations, then we do a secret ballot. And I think we'd be fortunate if we had more than 2 nominations. So who would like to nominate, or would someone like to nominate someone else? I'm taking a bit of liberty there because it doesn't say I can do that, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Could I just ask a question before we do it?
Yep.
I can't see here our terms of reference with the budget regime requires us to go out to market.
Yeah, I remember this. Well, I do remember this coming up about 3 or 4 years ago, where we purposefully made that decision to go to market as opposed to continuing to extend. So I assume that is in the terms of reference. Mr. McCluskey might nod his head wisely.
Through the chair, it is not in the terms of reference, which mirror the Act and regulations around this, which essentially allow council to renew to business market. These 2 members were renewed 2 years ago at the time of that council meeting. Members in the chamber suggested the next time these members go to should put it out to market. So I've brought back a recommendation in line with the assumption of that meeting.
So I was mostly wrong.
I think Mr. Mayor, you're mixing up the order of this committee.
Order of this committee. So I'll take a half a point there.
But it wasn't a question.
It was a good answer though.
It was a good answer.
So the recommendation is that we do go to the market, and I don't think that's a bad idea. So coming back to this decision, 2 people, it's half a dozen hours, and it's not an ongoing committee, so it's one and done. I'm trying to build up a bit of excitement. Deputy Van Nelson.
I was on the last 2 of these panels. You're actually underestimating. I think it's actually a very, very important role. And on the last 2 times, we've actually really had a look at the miracle, we've had a look at the mix of what makes the match, we've got versus architecture. We've actually specifically put the right people there at the right time for the locations. And for last year, it was just yourself, myself, Deputy Van Wing. We debated that for almost hours on making sure it's the right thing. So I think it is a very important role.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't saying it's not an important role. I was saying that it's you do it and then it's done. It's not a quarterly.
Look, I'm happy to renominate myself again, but I would recommend to others to sit in there. It's a really good learning curve.
Yep.
If we don't have any more, then I'm happy to nominate myself again.
I'll take that as a nomination.
Sure.
And if we get more than 2, then we'll go to the ballot.
Then I'll step back then.
Okay, so we have 1 nomination. Who else would like to nominate to be on the working party? That's me. Hodge?
Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Collett? Okay, so do we have a 3rd nomination, or are we happy to cut that? Looking like we're happy with 2. So we'll put in Deputy Mayor Nelson and Collett. Thank you for putting your hands up for not a soft rock. Double negative there, reinforced that point. Let's call for a mover then, please, for that motion. Councillor Stanley, good to hear from you tonight. Would you like to speak to the motion? Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Greig would like to speak to the motion.
Just to say, when it comes to council, staffing, we've never said this before, but when it comes to council for a decision in terms of appointing, it'd be great to move it back on it. So certainly trust the field of extended panel, but it's also meeting items to discuss.
Confidentiality. So do you mean in the recommendation that comes to council?
Well, whether it's a separate change or I wouldn't necessarily support last update. Certainly for us, just to understand the decision quality of the person rather than just a sentence. Because these are really important.
Might be with the CEO to work out how we could facilitate that. It's not a bad suggestion. Yeah, thank you. Any further discussion, any points that haven't been made? Councillor Stan would like to sum up. In that case, let's put it to vote. All those in favour, against, carried unanimously. Thank you once again for your nominations. When is that coming up, by the way? CEO. The working party.
Mr. McCluskey, can you speak to timetables?
So through the chair, the current intention is to present recommendations to the March council meetings that will be for March. So expressions of interest in the views
Got it. Okay, moving along. Item 10.7, minutes of the SPDPC meeting held on the 1st of December. Recommendation on page 185. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Nelson would like to speak to the motion.
Sure. Another amazing community that I cherish the experiences, and I do recall particularly the part 2 of this is we discussed in depth that we haven't done any tree assessments or anything else for quite some time. I believe the last one was about 25 years ago, something around there. So it was discussed that we should be doing this on a regular basis. We've hummed and hard for quite some time around timings and everything else. I think we finished up. It's been a really good result. So hopefully we're going to get support from that from the Greater Council. But I think most of the information was there in terms of the SPDPC, and I support the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Stan, would you like to speak to the motion? Stan. Okay. Any further discussion, any points that haven't already been raised? Councillor Backer, I believe you'd like to put a variation. And so it's
so it's just a third point. So look, acknowledging, and again, things that consider just lots of a lot of these things are resource issues, but of course our community has a great interest in trees and protection of trees. And I think it would be of assistance if we published, if not already, the significant trees. Keep in mind that some trees are property, but we do have some as well. And just maybe empower the community to identify and address any concerns, because regrettably some of the trees have gone overnight, and once they're gone we can't have them back, and that might be damage during development or people not knowing and so it'd be really good as part of this to empower our community to contribute to the protection of trees.
Thank you. So, I believe that's a variation, not an amendment, so I'll seek the leave of the mover and the seconder with a yes or a no to incorporate that into the motion. First of all, Deputy Mayor Nelson, yes or no?
I can answer your question, but I simply answer yes or no.
Correct. So I need 2 yeses for this to be incorporated as a variation.
Question is the update on this, once we put the council website needs to be updated and maintained. There's no definitions. It's just
Well, one of the previous points says that we'll do a review every minor review 5 years, 10 years.
In this significant trees, it's probably on the council website. It's not a question. The purpose of this motion is that no one's updating it, so we want to make sure that it gets updated.
Is that this one?
Yeah. I've taken a fairly lenient approach, Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Do I have 5 minutes?
No, you have less. How long does it take to say yes or no? Someone else may ask a question. Indeed, so.
Well, the fact it's already on the website, I'm going to say yes.
Thank you.
I hope that somebody else can ask questions about maintaining this.
Councillor Sennett, yes. Okay, so we'll now incorporate that as part of the motion. Are there any further points?
Speak first.
Well, you can speak, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, thanks for the consideration, and sorry, at the time of my sending that through, I wasn't aware that it was published on the website, but if it's published in a more prominent place, that would be great. But yeah, look, I think it's really just, we do some great work through our team in regards to doing the tree tags and everything that we do now, and I think it's just, you know, our community are our eyes and ears, and we've got some very active people in our community that you know, certainly supportive of maintaining that canopy. I think it's great to utilise, you know, the community, and I think it would be a shame if we can't maintain, obviously it's only every 5 or 10 years. And if you look to places like Burnside, you have a GIS system, they've got a barcode for every single tree in the whole council. And again, being the second smallest council, I think we need to, utilise the resources we've got, and some of that is enabling and empowering the community to approach this promotion.
Thank you. Anything else? Councillor Payne?
Yes. Desires are those things. Yeah, I think it's we should be, I think wherever we are, I think we've spoken before about using technology wherever we can, whether we're a small, medium or large council, technology is there to be used and to help us and help our staff manage this and do this efficiently. And I think years and years ago when we first had it, 20 years ago, it was all done without technology basically, except typing up and putting in so thanks.
Brendan, for the Chair, I'll take on board Deputy Mayor Nelson's point. I think we should go a step further and we should be promoting this, because I didn't realise that I had a signal tree on my property, I had no idea. And so the more we can make people aware, we can avoid those unintentional situations. So yeah, I'd encourage the team to think about ways of keeping this up to date and also promoting this as a strong part of our community. Okay, so back to Councillor Nelson to sum up.
You know, this is a very important question. I really played this philosophy to be. I think it's being seen from the fact that we're doing this on the website. A number of trees that actually exist. I encourage also
Thank you. Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Item 11, reports and information. So we can take reports for information on block, and there's only one report of information. I'd like to put this one out, if I may, and speak to it briefly and move it. So I think it was one meeting missed. I don't know whether it recorded my meeting technically actually. But I know that you like to hear about advocacy activities, and so I just thought, even though it would be in next month's report, CEO and myself met with Minister Burke today, talked about the Braun Road treatments that we're asking for some funding for, but we spent most of the time talking about the PLP, providing her with an update and briefing, and then we specifically narrowed down into discussions regarding the report that was put together by MFY. Yep. So we dug into that, and they've asked whether we can provide that report to them. But I just want to make a note that when we were talking about the intersection of Kintore and Main North Road, both the Minister and the Minister's advisor said they can't see a day where there would be traffic lights at that intersection. So we raised the fact that the community is concerned with increasing the volume of traffic in the side streets. We talked about some of the modelling that we saw, and they had a look at it and they said, yeah, well, we can't see a day where that would be signalised at all. So that's their words. Do with that what you will, but I just thought I'd make that point because it's pretty topical at the moment. I thought I'd get that out there into the public domain. And then there's a few more meetings with Minister Sockaert wasn't able to meet again. And then we're meeting with Minister Champion as well. So I'm going to move that and be thankful for someone who might seconding that report. Councillor Burke. Thank you. Any questions, any points that haven't been raised? If not, I don't see the need to sum up, and I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Unanimously. Item 12.1, thank you to Deputy Mayor Nelson and Councillor Barnett for your reports. Always interesting to see how much work's been done in the community by the executive group. So moving on to 12.2 motions on notice. We have one motion on notice, boundary reform investigation put forward by Councillor Backer. Recommendation on page 190, and you would have, did people receive the additional information via email today, or is that just via the picture? Okay, so some people might not have had a chance to review that, but I'll take it to Councillor Backer that you'd like to move the motion.
Yes, please.
And an opportunity to speak to the motion.
Yes, thank you very much. Look, you think this might come out of left field, but it's not really. I'm really looking to you for support to discuss options for the city's boundaries. So this is my third term of council, and ever since I've been here, we've been looking at ways to fund council assets. Now, as you know, Prospect being the second smallest council in metropolitan Adelaide, most of our rate base is residential, and the rating profile is quite different to other councils in that we don't tend to have a lot of commercial and industrial to spread that road. One of the things I think council may appreciate is a workshop to discuss that process. So obviously council can approach, the minister can decide, or if the community can seek boundary reform. The second point ensures that any proposal aligns with the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan, state significant infill and local investigation areas. So look, as a councillor, I've always tried to look 5-10 years ahead, because our region is always changing. But our residents and people in the inner north, it's actually not called inner north, this is called metropolitan and the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan, don't see council boundaries. So I know, for example, people in my ward that live over the other side of Main North Road tend to use Walkerville as their main street. because it's for them it's easier to get to, and that's where they catch up for coffee with their friends. For some people in Penang Park or places across the road, Devon Park, they might use Prospect as their main place to go for go shopping and things like that. And I guess I've sent this around, and what you see in front of you, and it's publicly available. So the site's actually down tonight, so all the nights are actually down. The regional plans are being released tomorrow. But basically what it shows is the yellow is the local investigation areas by the state government for potential infill. The blue areas is state significant infill areas, and the purple area is the, and because it's not in front of me, I might get correction from behind, I think is like the established neighbourhood area. So the heritage and established character area. So I guess what this is indicative of is there's going to be density in and around us and uplift. But the City of Prospect doesn't benefit from any of the rate increases or density in the region, though we may have to service the increased population, which is a great thing. We want people coming to our main streets, and obviously there'll be increased traffic to and fro. So this is not a decision why, wherefore, which boundaries, and there's a whole process that has to be gone through, because obviously we don't want to buy a liability either. So really it's just a little question mark of a different way to do things, the way to fund things like St Helens Park master plan, because we seem to be chasing our tails to, fix little bits and pieces, but really we need maturity in some of our asset plans and some of our master plans, and the only way we can fund our assets is to rate appropriately, and maybe we need to be bigger to do that. So I'll leave it for discussion, and there may even be an alternative motion coming forward.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Through.
Maybe if we look at also, which is saying that so, first is a question in relation to
So experience where I did go to the team research looking at things like markets and those kinds of design and understand between and the issues for this. So she can take it essentially as a component of this cost, not I just want to mention some describe so I think the intent is right, I think the time is and as I've been in this chamber, I always want to soften a bit more from the issue. And I think it's something that we should take some control of this. I just think 6 months in the occasions. I wish you guys to feel years ago today because I would probably be quite happy with that. But look, I think we do have a remaining cost, which is very sensitive to some shared services, shared services, some relationships between some and so we probably have to I also think part of the reason some people are going to do for such councils are so I think we need a conversation through conversation the council found throughout massage
So I think in terms of, I think we as a community want to interpret these processes as a conduct. Just don't think I think it's really good to know for the right to this way.
Thank you, Councillor Greg. Any further discussion? I saw Deputy Nelson first of all, then Councillor Mayer.
When I first read this, I mean, I love this proposal. We've had previous discussion in the past where the banking forms and having actually been about this in the past. I just think timing is going to be what is timing not ideal. Really seek to be, really seek to make sure you're the most timing not ideal. But it's sparked my interest. I think the motion as it's written, I don't think I can support. What I would like to do is put forward a amendment, which I believe is ready. And I've done this mainly because it did spark my interest. I'm interested in learning about how it works. I wasn't happy about the proposed $20,000 just to do the exercise. I do believe there is value, even just as an educational side for us, just to learn more about how these things are done, why they're done. I believe there's value in us to learn about the processes, the value of the pros and cons. I believe we can start with the groundwork. That's really what this amendment does. This is sort of start with the groundwork. So rather than having staff do a full analysis or a full desktop analysis, that we actually hold a workshop. That we invite somebody from the South Australian Language Commission to come in and talk to us about how the process works. So at least we're more educated. And we'll perhaps not think that it's certainly just an example of a very solution done from our South Australian Language Commission proposed over the last few years. So we can just read that to get an idea of what the next steps are. Clearly, we're not going to get all from now before we get that right before we get to lectures. And I think there's definitely good benefit for us to really learn about the process, learn about the positive benefits about the websites. So I think it's exactly what the process.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Wynne would like to speak to the motion. Thank you.
Recognition for this adjustments.
Any points that haven't been raised as they were talking about the amendment? Councillor
Yes. Yeah, I was going to, again, quite independently from two other speakers, but the original notice of motion for Councillor Tobacco, again, the timing is just right.
Sorry, we're just talking about the amendment.
Yes, I'm talking about that as well, yes.
Yep.
So we do have to get any timing about this correct. This is okay because it's easily arranged for small elected members information sort of learning session. But and again about the state government elections, our own council elections, all the work that we're doing with the PLP, and everything else that we're doing. I mean, there's most probably opportunity to have a bit more discussion about something that's connected with this during our Saturday coming up strategic planning session. That's this is like strategic planning stuff. So I was going to go on about be careful what you wish for, but I just think that we have to be very careful about our virtual will signaling to other players in this bill, other councils, state government, people who might be wanting to invest in our council area. And we've seen examples of others where, you're getting huge amounts of money just from looking at these things. So no doubt we'll have some questions with the local government boundaries commissioner person to say why in the hell does it cost so much to even just for you and get something on a piece of paper to do it. And we should always, I guess, be looking, and I think we are, and I think we do it, even, it's been said a few times even tonight that we're a small council. But as a small council, we've done quite a bit that even some of the large councils probably wish that they could do. So I don't think the size really doesn't matter. It's what your relationships are with the whole of others, including your neighbours. It's again a very long process. Some examples 3 years. So we're looking at something that we started all rolling now. It could be in 3 years' time. Well, that's a big life in the life of the next new council. I just think we've always been looking with regional cost-saving projects, for example, East Waste and others. New councils, I think we've all, ever since the failure of the government things in amalgamations, so much of it at least through over time I've been in case. So I think that it's most probably looking at the regional sharing cost-saving projects, working on smart collaboration, and the LDAs actually a prime example, and it came up in research that I recently read, of states, for example, collaboration with councils. We do get a lot of good value out of the sharing that goes on through the LDA, things particularly finance research. So I think smart collaboration and keep lobbying for increased people fund infrastructure. So we need to find out about the energy strategy, land use commission, what cost us such that.
So less than you've still got time. But less than
No more.
Still 35 seconds. Any further? Now we're talking about the amendment, so if you've got any comments about the amendment, please.
I had previously had concerns about sort of boundary reform and amalgamation, that kind of thing, but likely some of it comes from not understanding pitfalls following a process or the process itself. So I think this is good, and it is just really this one workshop. It's not like a first motion where it leads on possibly to lots of work and it's bad timing. I mean, we've got a new council coming in. So this one here is really just the one workshop with a lot of information, and it's information we have within a council, and if it, if the new council wants to take this further, we have the information we get from this workshop. So I actually think it's a benefit. I would like to gather more information and understand this process better. So,
Thank you. So, any further discussion, any points that haven't been raised? Councillor Greg.
Look, I just want to reiterate my point around timing, and particularly to Councillor Holland's point just then. We could get a great briefing from the Commission. We may not be so much in 12 months' time. And then, if the new council wants to pursue this as a priority, then it's also the process again. So I just think we hear a lot from CR and strategic, we hear from the risk committee as well. There's a lot going on. I've had things to say about the plans, but I agree there's a lot going on. I just don't understand the end point for this at this point of the year when we're doing indicator and expenses and things. I just think it's all time. Even if it's just another workshop, I think to the comment that was made is it's just staff time. Developing a workshop is still staff time. I just don't think it's the right time to do it. I don't have a problem with the amendment as such. I think that has changed the initial motion against the way. So it's now option 3. That aside, go back to a timing issue. It's just not the time to do it as a council. It's just too
Thank you. If there's no further points, I'll head back to Deputy Mayor Nelson for a brief summary and we'll put it to vote. So putting the amendment to the vote.
I certainly appreciate everything that's been said, particularly from the council. And I agree. There's nothing we can do about this. I think that there's obviously a bit of a passion for information, a bit of a passion for education. I think this can be a reasonably simple workshop to put together. And I think in the day, I feel selfish. I'm just interested to know what goes through and clearly I can't speak for the CEO, but we just had 2 weeks going through which everyone no workshops like this workshop schedule wasn't that busy. So clearly we can think of so I think it's just one of those.
Sit down, I said nothing.
Not even a bite.
You might want to quit whilst you're ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So look, I think this can just be an educational thing for the future, whether we're sitting here in 8 months' time or not. I think it's a good chance for some education. There's clearly some interest around the table, and I think sitting through a couple of hours for a workshop to learn more, I think can benefit everyone.
I've got online and online to us.
I don't have time.
Beautiful workshop.
Okay, sounds like finished.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Let's put that to the vote. So we're voting on the amendment. All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. If you voted in favour of, you need to stand. If it had come to a split vote, I would have voted in favour of. They couldn't have though, so I shouldn't have said that. I think it's too early to say caretaker. Personally, myself, I think that we've got 6 months of work to do, and anyway, shush.
To our boundary councils, welcome.
Sorry?
I said to our boundary councils, welcome. We just sent a message.
You think they don't talk about it?
Sorry?
You think they don't talk about it?
All the time.
Probably not as overtly as well.
So I've been advised by the team leader for governance that council at the back gets the sum up.
I do.
Yes.
Still your motion.
Still your motion.
Okay. So look, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And look, it's really just an information gathering exercise, and in the context of onus on us to do local area management plan, I actually don't see them as two separate exercises. I think this whole thing is how do we do master planning better as a local government? And I think we need to educate ourselves about how to do that. We've done a great job in the city of Prospect. I agree. I think we certainly that because we are amazing at seeing master planning things that we're doing. Yeah,
Thank you. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Motion carried.
I was understanding.
We move on to item 12.3. Questions. We notice there are none. Urgent motions without notice. Leave their meeting. Late reports there aren't any. We move on to item 13. Confidential items. 13.1. Board and Risk Committee meeting 19th of January 2026 is a recommendation to go into confidence. Do I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Nelson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barnett. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried.